All right, guys, welcome to our monthly open meeting. My name is Jamie Spencer. I'm Executive Director of TXNORML. Let's do some shout-outs and look around at the people next to you, because we're going to tell you if you're new or semi-new who you can come up to and chat with after our talk here on stage. Raise your hand if you're a board member. The lights are even brighter tonight. I'm going to have a really hard time calling people out because all I see is bright light. That's okay. I see a bunch of folks that are raising their hands that are board members. Raise your hand if you're a member of TXNORML. Folks here who are members. And last, thank you. Raise your hand if this is your first meeting, if this is the first time you've come out. Look at that, we've got it, and we especially appreciate it on a cold night like tonight. Usually December and January kind of compete for what's going to be the lowest turnout, but we'd like to welcome you back next first Wednesday, and every first Wednesday after then. We always have our open meeting here at Flamingo Cantina. I'm going to talk for a little bit. For the most part tonight, I'm going to be kind of doing a 2014 year in review, both across Texas, what we were able to do in the last 12 months, and also in the United States. Dave Bass is our Director of Veterans Outreach. He's walking by right here. He's going to come up and talk for just a little bit, break up the monotony of it just being me. And then our official guest speaker for tonight is Rick Womack. He is our TXNORML historian. If I remember correctly my talk with him yesterday about his guest speaking spot, he's going to let you know a little bit about what being a historian for TXNORML entails, where you can maybe see meetings online if you're not able to make them, those sorts of things. And then he also took an interesting trip recently over the holidays. If he has some time, he may talk to you about the realities in some other states. And then I'll get back up here and finish the meeting. After that, the Outlaw Montgomery Wayne is, I think, upstairs. We're going to have a great lineup of stand-up comedy, as we've been doing for quite some time. And after that, the Mau Mau Chaplains will be playing their fabulous reggae. And don't forget to tip your bartenders. We really appreciate Angela hosting us here for years and years now. Let's have a round of applause for the Flamingo Cantina for putting up with us for so long. We switch who does the monthly meetings now. I speak every 3 months, and I'd like to always start by pointing out that NORML's mission, and TXNORML's mission, is to move public opinion sufficiently to legalize the responsible use of marijuana by adults. And frankly, now that we pretty much have public opinion on our side and the tide is moving in our direction, we can really kind of start thinking about going into issue number 2 for us, which is to serve as an advocate for consumers to assure that they have access to high-quality marijuana that is safe, convenient, affordable, and legal. That's what we're here to accomplish, and we're going to end up doing that, guys. Let's talk about what you guys helped us do this year in 2014. Like I said, Happy New Year. Thank you for being out here tonight. In 2014, of course, I just told you we held our regular open monthly meeting every first Wednesday at Flamingo Cantina. We also featured monthly traveling strategy meetings to prepare the greater Austin area for the upcoming 2015 legislative session. I'm going to be talking a little bit about what we're going to be doing at that legislative session and how you can help us and how you can join in the fun. I can tell you that I've been in the NORML game, both National NORML and TXNORML, for some time now, and nothing has been as fun in that movement as the last legislative session when I had the pleasure to be with a group of people. We walked into a legislator's office. We had somebody from her district. She didn't even know about the 2 bills that we had up, the medical marijuana and the decrim that would make 0 to 1 ounces a Class C, because, as she told us, I can't remember now, there's 7,000 or 9,000 bills introduced every session, but she was totally on board, and we were completely successful in our mission to get her to go, and she promised to do it, and indeed the next day she went and signed up as a co-sponsor of this bill. just to be a tiny bit of a process where people actually get together and address their government officials and tell them what their needs are and what they want to do, and to see things turning in the right direction. I really encourage any of y'all that are here, that are new, to at least, even if you don't join TXNORML, that's fine. We don't need your money as much as we need your support. Get on the email list, make sure you know about what days we're going to be hitting up the legislature and what you can do to help, and you'll actually feel a great sense of accomplishment and pride. I tell people I was born in the 60s, but I didn't really experience the 60s, so I didn't get to be part of the civil rights movement. But you know what? It is fun for me to be able to be involved on the right side of an issue. We can already see that we are going to win this war against the war on drugs. We know that. It's just a matter of your help and you spreading the evangelism to your friends and getting them to sign on and come and talk to their legislators as well. It's only a matter of when, not if. And again, we're really happy that you came out here tonight. We've actually suspended the traveling strategy meetings during the legislative session because we're going to be doing so much work, but we did those monthly in 2014. We held monthly PAC meetings to empower and support our patients. And we held several senior alliance meetings to help reach out to that important demographic as well. And that's actually something that's fairly new for TXNORML. I'm really pleased about that. Also, in 2014, different directors and officers of TXNORML participated in about 100 student TV, radio, and newspaper interviews and appearances. And we expect to be even more in the news spreading the gospel in 2015 when these bills are introduced and they're being actually taken seriously by our legislature. For events that we did in 2014, in January we had the Team THC Runs for the Money at the Riverside Golf Course. Is that our only participant that's here tonight? Sometimes the Wednesday night folks and the people that get up at 6 a.m. to run 5Ks, they both support NORML, but they're not always the same group of people. And I'm here on Wednesday night, but okay. Back to serious matters. Other things we did in 2015. We held our activist training camp in February. By the way, you can see pictures of almost all or all of these events online, I believe. In March, we had our Team THC Spring Meetup, which is a walk around Lady Bird Lake. Anybody there for that? Not even Weineke. Okay. That's okay, that's okay. I hear it was well attended, seriously, just apparently not by anybody here. Also in March, we had our TXNORML Veterans Benefit at Willie Nelson's Cut and Putt. All right. More people were at that apparently. Also, just to let you know, there was some more strategizing about the Willie Cut and Putt that's coming up. There will be another one, so if you went last time, I know you want to go again. If you didn't, you're probably hearing good things and you want to go to that. It's pretty good. All right. Then in April, we had our Team THC Statesman Capital 10K run. I don't expect to hear any. Oh, we have some applause! Yay! And Destiny. Anybody besides Destiny? Okay, a lot of 10Kers here. I know we did something at the Libertarian State Convention in April. What do we do in April at the Libertarian State Convention? Or should I skip that? Well, also in April, of course, April is the 4th month of the year. So that includes 420. So we were at Reggae Fest. And this is a Reggae Fest crowd. Also, maybe a week afterwards was Eeyore's birthday, and we had a flash mob. We'll be having a flash mob again, so you should come out for that. That's really fun. In March, we had our marijuana march. I'm sorry, in May 3rd of 2014, we had our TXNORML marijuana march. Also, in May, we had the THC Memorial Day 5K. Destiny? No? Okay. All right. And in June, we sent several representatives to the Texas Regional Conference. That was in the DFW area. That was a good conference for our folks to go to, strategizing about the 2015 legislative session. Ooh, I see some green shirts over there. I believe they say DFW NORML. Please introduce yourself to your northern Texas NORML friends over here when you get a chance. It's good to see you guys out. In July, there was the Belton 4th of July Parade and also the Texas Monthly Talks, the Veterans and PTSD, as well as the first Texas NORML Veterans Conference. What else did we do? Let's see, we put out a Texas NORML Voters Guide, and we've got updates of that for you, I believe, at the table tonight. Then in October, there was the Marijuana Investment Conference in Houston. That's some forward-looking people, but that's what we're all here for eventually. We had the Texas NORML Members Mixer as well in October. The Baker Institute talk about whether Texas is ready for medical marijuana. And then in November, the Friends of Central Texas State Veterans Cemetery. I did not go to that, but I am not only going to go to it next year, I'm going to take my kids. It's a wreath-making event. When I found out about what was all involved, I was kind of sorry that I missed out on that. Y'all should take a look at that as well. We had a second activist training day just about a month ago that was held right after our monthly meeting. And that was at the Capitol building for the very first time. So that felt super official, and that was well attended. And that's pretty much what happened at least through last meeting. And then maybe the most exciting thing that happened in Texas marijuana news was the press conference in about the middle of December, about 2 or 3 weeks ago. Representative Joe Moody, a Democrat from El Paso, announced the introduction of House Bill 507. And I tell you what, on the count of 1, 2, 3, because we're going to need to be memorizing this and saying this a lot, let's all say House Bill 507. 1, 2, 3. House Bill 507. We're going to be walking into legislators' offices talking about that. Some of them will be like that legislator that I told you about from last year. They won't know anything about it. And you're going to tell them that Texas can save a lot of tax money and that we can use our resources in a better way. In fact, we can eventually move towards taxation and regulation. But House Bill 507 removes the threat of arrest, jail time, and a criminal record for possession of up to an ounce of marijuana, and would assess violators a $100 civil fine. And of course, we stand for the proposition that we are for complete legalization. You remember me talking about what the goals of Texas NORML are, but this would be a huge first step. And even though I do a little bit of rah-rah here when I come and talk at the monthly meetings, I'm also a realist. If you talk to me down on the floor at some other event or wherever we are, I'll tell you it's an uphill battle. And even as much as a year ago, I still thought that 2017 was probably the first time we'd have movement on under an ounce. But I guess an exciting thing that I didn't really talk about for Texas NORML in 2014 was becoming part of the coalition with Marijuana Policy Project and the other organizations. We've been able to, with your help, fundraise and hire an actual lobbyist. And these are people that really know what they're doing when it comes to the Texas Senate and the Texas House. And I'll tell you what, our lobbyist actually has me convinced that uphill battle, yes, but House Bill 507 is an actual possibility for us this year, and it's really exciting to think that we're going to get really close. So that was a huge thing that really nothing like that has been introduced before. The closest thing would be the bill that has been proposed for the last 7-ish sessions that would make 0 to 1 ounces a Class C misdemeanor, but it would still be a jail. Well, you could go to jail at the time for it on the discretion of the police officer. This is a much, much better proposal. And because a lot of states that have been a little bit more groundbreaking in the area of marijuana decriminalization have followed that route, we can actually point to those states and show that those sorts of laws have worked in other states, and use that as another reason we try to convince our legislators to do the right thing. Okay, so some other things that are coming up. Really, probably some of the most important things I need to talk to you about are our two upcoming lobby events. Now, the first one will be our Patient Lobby Day. That's on January 10th at the Capitol Building. This event is really for caregivers, patients, and their families, or friends of families of patients and caregivers. And being involved in this movement for as long as I have, yes, obviously there is a strong recreational component, but most recreational users also know folks that need it for much more serious reasons, for palliative reasons, because the medicine, for example, Dave Bass at that activist training day from a month ago gave a very impassioned speech about how his journey and veterans' journeys in general, from alcohol and the psychotropic medications that the VA wants to give them after they've left the military, don't work nearly as well as marijuana do for many of these veterans. And so that's going to be January 20th. Then the second big lobby day, and by no means am I discouraging you for coming to the first, but the second one is our Citizen Lobby Day. That's for anybody and everybody for any of the multitude of reasons that there are for legalizing marijuana. That's February 18th on the Capitol grounds. We'll be lobbying for House Bill 507 and medical cannabis. I don't think we know what the bill number yet is for that, but we'll certainly let y'all know. And really, it's a pretty well-organized event that we kind of put stuff together so that you know what you need to do to go talk to your legislator. We're also working to plan legislative briefings for our bills. That's where we host sort of almost a seminar for legislators to come to in a room in the Capitol that they can listen to what the reasons are for a particular bill. This is new ground for us. This kind of shows how seriously we're being taken that we can do something like this. And let's face it, a lot of us tend to preach to the choir. We know like-minded people. But there are people, and many of them are legislators, who do need educating about this subject. We're going to have an educational display in the E2 hallway of the Texas Capitol. That's going to be for 3 or 4 days in March, March 16th through 19th. Also, if you are already on our email list, or if you sign up for it tonight, we'll be sending action alerts and legislative updates to our newsletter subscribers and through our various social media outlets. So there are many ways of keeping track of it. But basically, here's what you need to remember. January, February, March, the first few months of the legislative session, really I guess all of it, are going to be super important because, of course, don't forget, in Texas the legislature only meets once every 2 years. And, sorry, I'm taking a look at my time trying to figure out the speakers. Okay, so we're also going to have an educational seminar on PTSD and medical marijuana. Now is as good a time as any, I think, for me to get Dave, oh there he is, Dave Bass up here to talk about that. So here is Dave Bass, our Director of Veterans Outreach, to tell you a little bit about that. Apparently I said January 10th. Patient Lobby Day is January 20th. Trust the email, not what you heard me say. January 20th. Sorry about that, guys.
Hey, thank you for being here tonight, especially the people who have never been here before. Thank you so much for joining us. And we want you to join us permanently, not just tonight. Where's Destiny? Destiny's right back here. We don't like to do the high pressure thing, but we really need you to join TXNORML. We are a non-profit. All of us are volunteers. Nobody gets paid. In fact, we all spend a lot of money traveling around and supporting NORML. So please see Destiny and talk to her about joining TXNORML. She can tell you the various levels of membership. Thank you. On February the 7th, TXNORML is sponsoring a historic event in Killeen, Texas, the home of Fort Hood, the largest military post in the United States. TXNORML will sponsor a seminar, PTSD and Medical Marijuana. It's on a Saturday at the Killeen Civic and Conference Center from 9 a.m. to 12 noon. Dr. Neeraj Shah, a physician who has experience treating patients with PTSD, will be our featured speaker. And we will also have Heather Fazio from the Marijuana Policy Project. Cheyenne Weldon will speak. Tristan Tucker and Malachi Muncie, two fantastic veterans who speak very well. And Jack Spinkel will also speak and moderate a panel. So I hope you can come up to Killeen, the Fort Hood community, and attend this seminar. It's going to be fantastic. And what we're doing is we're organizing veterans to go with us to Lobby Day on February the 18th. And so I hope to see all of you up there at the Capitol on February the 18th. You can find the event on our TXNORML Facebook page. Thank you so much for being with us tonight.
Thank you, Dave. And just a few more notes on upcoming events. March 28th will be the next Willie Nelson's Cut and Pot. We'll have a flash mob again, like I said, at Eeyore's birthday. We will be at Reggae Fest. We will hold our annual Marijuana March on May 2nd. We will have another annual members mixer. And of course, we'll continue to hold the open monthly meetings here at Flamingo. Let me now introduce tonight's guest speaker is our TXNORML historian, and he is the first person to have that position. It is Rick Womack. He's going to tell you a little bit about that, and potentially a few other notes and odds and ends of interest, hopefully. Please welcome Rick Womack.
Hey, how's everybody doing? All right. Hey, well, you know, as Jamie said, I am the first ever historian for TXNORML, and in the simplest terms, what that means is that there's a camera over in the corner, and I'm the guy that pushes start, and I'm the guy that pushes stop, and then I upload it to YouTube. And the message, the bottom line message that I'd like all of you guys to take away from this is that for so little effort, we get a lot of return, because it puts the word out there, and we've been doing this for about a year now, and it's up on YouTube. And so if you want to go to YouTube, you can actually search it. You type in TXNORML, you know the way to spell that without the A, right? Okay, so that's how you do it, and you can find out everything, and you've got a log of everything that we've covered here, and we've covered a lot of historic stuff. They've talked about it. The thing that I'd like to talk about today, after having given that introduction to you, is some folks that I met on a trip. And I just recently took a trip with family, and it didn't have anything to do with NORML or marijuana activism, but ironically, it went through a place called Colorado. Have you ever heard of Colorado? Okay, well, I went through Colorado, and the end of this journey was a place called Washington. You ever heard of that? So it was a good thing, and turns out I met some folks, and I want to share a little bit of information about that. So, without further ado, we met some folks on the way, and up in Denver, I met someone named Roxy. She's a patient, a medical marijuana patient, and it turns out that that became her calling to become a bud tender in a place called Euflora. Has anybody ever heard of Euflora? It's a dispensary up in Denver, Colorado. Well, it turns out, I think it was on TV a while. What was that? Marijuana or cannabis barons or something along those lines. Yeah, and so it was showcased, and she works there, and she gave me the 50-cent tour, and man, she should have charged more because it was awesome. It was the kind of thing that we'd like to see down here because they have a really high-tech operation. They had all kinds of strains. They had all the data. They had a little bitty tablet that you could go through on each and every strain. You could see all the specifics. You could see what it treated. You could see how wonderful it was, and you could smell it. Everything. It was great. And so it was just amazing. It was like being in another country, and yet it wasn't. So that was cool. And thank you, Roxy, for the 50-cent tour that was worth a lot more. And then so we went on, and we ended up in Washington State. And we ended up out there, and I met a guy named Mike, co-owner of the only recreational dispensary in Olympia, Washington. And pretty good operation going on there, and it was neat. You know, I just felt like, you know, I told him, gave him a card, said I'm the historian of TXNORML, and I failed to mention that was as simple as pushing start and then pushing stop. But nevertheless, I was just brought right in the fold and got a chance to see the front end of the operation, and I also had a chance to go in the back and see the back end of the operation. And as we spoke, we got a chance to talk about, you know, some of the lessons learned and the things that they have been able to pick up on out there in Washington in terms of, you know, how to run the medical marijuana program, how to run a recreational program, and some things that they could do better. And it does seem like there's going to be some changes in that state, and that's a good thing for Texas because, you know, in terms of where we're at, we've got some bills and it's going to take a while, but we can learn from other things that, you know, the good things that people have done in other states, and we can also learn from the things that maybe where we can see that they might have been able to tighten things up and do it a little better, what have you. And so we have that benefit, and that's a good thing. So he shared that, but the thing I want to share with you is that, you know, you think of recreational marijuana, you know, what kind of stereotype does that invoke in most people's minds, especially in the state of Texas? And what I found so interesting is that Mike his father is a legislator. He's a state legislator, and he's a state legislator that describes himself as a conservative Christian. And ironically, or you know, how do we want to say it? You know, it's kind of surprising that, you know, you just wouldn't expect in this state, in Texas, that people that would be running a recreational marijuana operation would in fact come from a family like that. And that just goes to show you that your stereotypes and your paradigms maybe need to be updated. And so I think that's a good lesson for us to have in this state. It was wonderful. It was a great trip, and I'm glad that I did it. And there's one other thing that I want to add to the mix here, and that is that you may have read something about the federal government putting out some policy in terms of the Indian reservations and giving them the ability to go ahead and grow marijuana and sell it and use that as a source of revenue, if they will, but then they laid out some guidelines and so forth. Is anybody in here familiar with that? Do you remember reading anything about that? There's the one right there. All right, so we've got a couple of people that have seen that, and I want to add to the, you know, as kind of a wrap up here, a friend of mine, he's a Native American activist and a musician, very successful. Him and a couple of other people are going to be taking the message, the NORML message, the message that marijuana is safer than alcohol. They're going to be taking it on a tour throughout Indian country, and they're going to be hitting a lot of the Indian reservations in conjunction with their normal tour and their music and the things that they do within Indian country, but they're going to be talking about it, and it's a big thing, and so there's lots of changes coming about. And so that's sort of a quick update on a historic event and a historic trip that I just took, and I want to share it with you because these are historic times, and we're really lucky to be seeing these with our own eyes. So, take care.
Thank you, Rick. Okay, so we did the year in review for Texas. Let's do a little bit of year in review. A top 10 marijuana moments for the dearly departed 2014. First up is that marijuana legalization measures won big on Election Day. Voters in Oregon and Alaska decided on Election Day in favor of statewide initiatives that legalize the commercial production and sale of marijuana for adults, as well as in Washington, D.C. and numerous other cities in states where they're able to do it on a more piecemeal basis. Already on, indeed. And the number 2 story, Colorado and Washington began actually regulating retail marijuana sales. Technically, their elections weren't part of the 2014 year in review because they happened the year before, but they actually started having state licensed retail outlets. In Colorado was in January, in Washington it was in July. The number 3 story, Congress enacts a measure protecting state-sponsored med-pot programs. Okay, so this is a really big one, and this is something to pay attention to, because one of the things that we hear from the legislators when they're giving excuses and saying things like, I would completely and totally support your bill, but for this one thing, sometimes you'll hear them say, but for the feds. I just can't, go against what the feds are doing. Number one, if they're conservative or libertarian or Republican, which is pretty common in Texas, you might want to lean on them from a political philosophy standpoint about Texans should get to decide what Texans do and not the federal government. But you can also let them know that President Obama signed spending legislation into law in December that included a provision limiting the Justice Department's ability to take criminal action against state-licensed individuals or operations that are acting in full compliance with the medical marijuana laws of their own states. That is huge. I just can't overstate the importance of that, and a lot of our legislators will actually not really know about that, or maybe not have taken it into consideration. And again, going back to the political philosophy, hey, now we Texans get to do what we Texans want to do without the federal interference. That's something that may be saleable to your legislator or to somebody else's legislator. The exact wording of the amendment states, none of the funds made available in this funding act to the Department of Justice may be used to prevent states from implementing their own state laws that authorize the use, distribution, possession, or cultivation of medical marijuana. Congress, in a similar move during 2014, moved to permit state-sanctioned hemp cultivation. Yeah. This was at the beginning of last year. Federal lawmakers approved legislation permitting state-sponsored hemp cultivation to move forward despite the plant's federal status as, everyone say it with me, a Schedule I prohibited substance, which of course means that it's more dangerous than cocaine and methamphetamines and the opiates and all of that. So, that was also good news. I think this was November, or maybe October. The next story is about the federal judge who heard the challenge to the cannabis Schedule I status. U.S. District Court Judge Kimberly Mueller heard 5 days of testimony regarding the constitutionality of marijuana's Schedule I status under federal law. Defense counsel and their experts argued that the scientific literature is not supportive of the plant's present categorization. We are expecting a ruling from Judge Mueller in the next few months. Let's look out for that. Maybe we'll finally get a science-based ruling on this question instead of a myth-based ruling on this. Just a few more stories to round out 2014. the Journal of the American Medical Association. Again, this one is huge when listening to excuses by legislators or to your friends that are only 49% convinced and need a little bit more convincing. Remember, this is the American Medical Association. Fewer opiate-related deaths in medical marijuana states. The enactment of statewide medical marijuana laws is associated with significantly lower state-level opioid overdose mortality rates. Okay, people dying of opiates has gone down when people have access to a safe alternative that treats their symptoms better and doesn't have 5 or 10 or 20 negative side effects. Guess what? The medical community, the health of everybody increases. And now we have the science to back that up. So that's something that the legislators should be interested in. Along those same lines, you may remember an interview in 2014 where Obama acknowledged that booze is more harmful than marijuana. Now, this isn't news to anybody, but it is nice to have the President of the United States say it, so it makes our top 10 list of items in 2014. Shooting down another myth that we hear a lot. Oh, goodness. If we legalize marijuana, I did see that movie Reefer Madness, that means crime will go up. Well, since we now have some data trickling out of states that have medical marijuana or completely legalized marijuana, we now actually have enough data to tell them that medical marijuana states have fewer violent crimes. Medicinal cannabis laws are not associated with any rise in statewide criminal activity, according to data published in April in a journal. Medical marijuana laws were not found to have a crime-exacerbating effect on any of the 7 crime types. On the contrary, our findings indicated that medical marijuana laws precede a reduction in homicide and assault. The data shows when people switch from booze to marijuana, there's less fighting. Oh, shit. The New York Times finally had the cojones to come out and write an opinion in favor of legalizing cannabis. So that was a good thing. And the last item I'm going to mention for 2014 is more a look at sort of the shift in opinion. They did a poll. They asked folks, of these 4 substances, marijuana, tobacco, alcohol, and sugar, please rate the ones that you think are the most dangerous. Sugar. Tobacco came in first at 49%, whether it should have or not, but the important thing is it came in above marijuana. Alcohol came in at 24%. Maybe it should be higher, maybe it shouldn't, but it came in above marijuana. And yes, even sugar at 15%. Americans know. And by the way, actually I'm going to change my mind. Maybe sugar is the most dangerous. I keep on saying all of these are dangerous, except for the marijuana. All right, guys, we're moving in the right direction. We appreciate y'all coming out. Please, if you saw, board members or other members and you want to mingle with us and come and talk to us, we're all pretty talkative folks, and we'd love to get you more involved. Thanks for coming out for our open meeting, and the Outlaw Montgomery Wayne will be up in a few minutes to MC a fantastic group of comedians, as he always does. Please pay attention to them and listen, even if we're chatting, let's listen to comedians. That's a tough job. And again, lastly, don't forget your bartenders. Bartender says, thank you so much for coming out tonight. Texas NORML appreciates it. All right.
Right morning when my work is over, I'll fly away home. Lord, what bright morning when my work is over, I will fly away home. bright morning when my work is over, I'll fly